What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the finale of season 1 of this podcast. This is Operation Smarty Pants, where our mission is to acquire knowledge and expand our minds. I am your host, Special Agent Rae, and today we are going to cover part 2 of episode 2 of Secrets of the Blue Zones by looking at a little town called Loma Linda, California. All right, before we get into it, I want to give a little bit of context. So, like I said, this is the final episode of season 1. I tentatively say season 1 because I hope that some point in the future there will be a season 2 and we will get to continue learning and continue this podcast together. Unfortunately, at the moment, there are some other things in my life that need to take priority. I would love to keep doing this series. I love watching these documentaries. I love learning new things. I think it is so important to do that regularly and open and expand your mind. However, it is what it is. Life gets in the way. So someday we'll come back to this, but as of right now, this is going to be the last episode. And I couldn't leave you guys hanging because this is a part 2. So last week we looked at Sardinia in Italy and why the people of Sardinia were living to be so long and so healthy. And so now today we are going to look at Loma Linda, California. One might say the opposite of Sardinia, Italy. Loma Linda, California is located in kind of southern mid-California, a little bit outside of Bakersfield, I believe. And they have men who live 7 years longer than even the average centenarian in other parts of the world, and women who live for 4 years longer than other centenarians. So these guys are the cream of the crop. They are the oldest of the old. Why is that? What is so special about little suburban Loma Linda, California? Well, let's talk about it. So the first thing is that Loma Linda, California is a community of Seventh-day Adventists. Now, what is this? This is a Protestant Christian denomination that were initially known for their belief about the second coming of Jesus Christ, or the second advent, hence the name Adventist. Now, they originally predicted that Jesus would return in 1844, which of course did not happen, but they still hold this belief that Jesus is coming back. And I mean, honestly, if you look at what's happening in the world today, it kind of feels like the end of days. It kind of feels like he's coming back soon, if you know what I mean. So after this initial disappointment of their prediction not coming true, they sort of regrouped and reinterpreted their texts and their prophecies, and they do continue to expect Jesus Christ to return at some point. But this now modern day idea of the Seventh-day Adventist was established officially in 1863. So this belief system, this church, this community has been around for a while, and there are a lot of people who are Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, California. And the reason why they are living so long does stem from their religion, not necessarily their beliefs about God or their prophecies or what is to come, but it's more about the values that they hold. And the values that they hold are all good, healthy values that do contribute to their long lifestyles. And they are things that I think anyone can take and adopt for themselves, whether you are religious or not. So what is the first one? The first one is their physical activity. And I think we've talked about physical activity before. I mean, we talked about it last episode about the people of Sardinia being able to walk hills and inclines and declines around their life. That's physical activity. I think in general, we can agree that physical activity is good for you. And there's a quote that came out of this by a woman named Loida Menina. She is 84 years old. They call her, in this community, they call her the godmother of pickleball. Apparently, pickleball is big within the Seventh-day Adventists. I've never played pickleball. I think it's like a mini version of tennis. I mean, if that's your thing, that's your thing. If it keeps you moving, keeps you active, great. I don't know if that necessarily appeals to me, but I think I'd probably try it if given the opportunity. I think my hand-eye coordination isn't good enough to be able to do something like that. But these people love pickleball. Loida, she said she plays for about 3 hours a day, which is a lot. And going back, here's the quote that came from her. She said, "Longevity is exercise and community." Longevity is exercise and community. So they've got the exercise part down. This part of the episode started off by showing a man mountain biking in the sort of mountains that surround Loma Linda. He was 80 years old. A man named Rhett Nelson, 80 years old, mountain biking. That's pretty impressive. I don't even do that, and I'm a young woman. So they know how to exercise. They know how to keep themselves healthy in that way. And now let's talk about the other aspect of that quote. So she said, again, longevity is exercise and community. So the second part of that is community. Community is super important. In one way that they establish and maintain their community is by volunteering. Volunteering is, I think, something that people don't necessarily, I don't know, think of. Maybe this is just me. This is just my own personal bias coming out, but not something that people think of as being, I want to say like positive or beneficial or fruitful. I mean, of course, it's fruitful for the people that you're helping, but it maybe doesn't come to mind as the first thing that someone's going to do if they have a free Saturday or Sunday, you know? Again, maybe that's just me and I'm just a horrible person, but I feel like society today is very selfish, very self-centered, self-focused, turning inward, me, what do I need, what can I do, that sort of thing, and we don't necessarily think about what other people need, especially people who aren't our friends or family. Strangers on the street. There are people all over the world, all over the place who need help, and volunteering is a great way to help people. You can usually join organizations that are already established, so it's already kind of organized. You just need to show up and do the thing, whatever you have volunteered to do that day. And it is said in the documentary, people who volunteer have better memories, better social connections, and more happiness. Now, why is that? I think that there is a certain amount of self-confidence or self-worth that comes from helping other people. That comes from helping other people. So it gives you almost a purpose and almost a, I don't quite know how to say it. Like, I want to say kind of like this feeling of, I don't know, by helping someone else, you are then stepping outside of yourself and into the world and not helping, but rather having an impact on other people's lives in a positive way. And that gives you a sort of sense of self and sense of purpose and drive that you don't get from just helping yourself. There is something about the selflessness that is then almost like this little switch in your brain that goes, wow, I'm a good person. I'm helping someone else. I'm not getting anything back from this. And I feel like it sounds kind of bad when I'm saying it out loud like that, like I'm helping people to feel better about myself. But you're still helping people. The ends justify the means, right? I mean, I don't think that that doesn't apply in all contexts, but even if you're feeling, if it's the sort of selfish feeling of I'm a better person for having done this, the people are still getting helped. So, why does it matter that it also helps you feel like a better person? And I say this as someone who doesn't volunteer, and I want to. Especially after watching this documentary and hearing about, opportunities come up at the church that I go to volunteer all the time. And I feel this pull toward it, this call to it. I do want to be giving back to my community and helping people. And just because people need help, because I know that it is a good thing just to do as a person. I just haven't necessarily found the time to do it, or to not make excuses. I haven't put in the effort to take that next step. So maybe by sitting here and telling you guys about it and really taking a look at myself and being like, wow, I'm telling other people to do this and I don't even do it. Maybe that'll kind of be the kick in the pants that I need. So, so the Seventh-day Adventists, they get good exercise, they volunteer, they help out their community, they have a very strong community just within Loma Linda, California. They are all part of the same religion. I'm sure they spend a lot of time together, they grow up together, they have those connections, they have that support, and we talked about that in the first episode of the Blue Zones when we were looking at Okinawa, Japan, how the people of Okinawa have also formed a very strong community where they help each other out, where they have those social connections, they have people to fall back on when things go wrong for them, and then they do the same thing for others. So that stuff is so important, to have that community, to have that support system that really helps contribute to a longer life. Now, it wouldn't be an episode about healthy living without talking about nutrition. I think we do that in every single episode of the Blue Zones, but there's always something a little different. So, what do the people of Loma Linda, California eat? Well, they do eat a very balanced diet. And one thing that, in my opinion, really sets them apart from other cultures, other communities, is that they eat a mostly vegetarian diet. It says here that 35% of them are vegan or vegetarian, and they eat 1/3 of the amount of meat that most Americans eat. So they are vegetarian. They emphasize fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and beans or legumes. And I have here written, I honestly don't know exactly what I meant by this, but I wrote in my notes, nuts equals 3 years longer life. So if you want to live a long life, you need to eat nuts. So that's number one. My favorite nuts are almonds. I've realized recently that I maybe shouldn't eat too many of them because I have some sensitivities to food, and I do think that almonds set that off. But I do love almonds. I also love walnuts. Walnuts are delicious. I get these sugar and cinnamon coated walnuts from Sprouts. I think they just call them churro walnuts, and I eat those for dessert, and I love it. I love it. So, if you take anything away from this podcast, maybe it is that you should eat more nuts. Okay, now that we've covered that, let's go back a little bit, talk about the meat and the vegetarianism. So, I was a vegetarian for a couple of years in my early adulthood. I started when I was about 18 years old, still living at home. I kind of converted to vegetarianism. Then I went away to college, and for the first 2 years at college, I was vegetarian. And then I reverted back to eat after trying Raising Cane's, and I think falling victim to the sort of meathead fitness world of protein, get your protein in, blah, blah, blah. So I started lifting weights when I was a freshman in college, and I was watching all these videos about it. And that's, one thing that people were saying, get your macros in. You got to eat a lot of protein. If you want to be healthy, build muscle, you have to eat a lot of protein. And looking back, I was in better shape when I was a vegetarian than when I started eating meat again. So I was leaner. I was still strong. I was, sort of in the beginning stages of myself building muscle and getting healthy, but I was definitely leaner and kind of the smallest I've ever been when I was a vegetarian. And I truly, thinking back, didn't have any specific issues or drawbacks to it. And then it was late one night after a long day at school, and then I had to drive a half an hour to teach swim lessons, because that was my kind of side hustle when I was in college. And so I was wet. I had just been dealing with screaming kids after an entire day of college schoolwork and classes and things like that. And I had heard so many good things about Raising Cane's. It was just kind of coming onto the scene, at least where I was living at that point. And people were saying it's delicious. It's some of the best chicken that you've ever had, especially for a cheaper, casual fast food place. And I was tempted, and I tried it, and I loved it. I still love me some good Raising Cane's, but that kind of jump-started my journey back into eating meat. And I didn't really change anything since then. I ate meat almost every single day until just recently, actually, until watching this documentary and seeing these people who are super healthy, super old, eating vegetarian diets. And even my boyfriend has always said, we don't need to eat that much meat. You don't need to eat meat every day, especially red meat. I had cut out red meat a while ago and would only eat it on special occasions. I was eating mostly fish and chicken or turkey. But even now, for the past like couple of months, I've tried to have days where I eat a completely vegetarian diet, where I don't eat any meat. And of course, there's days throughout the week where I do eat meat. But I haven't, I'm still here. I haven't noticed anything bad. I haven't noticed that my gains are disappearing or I'm not as good in the gym as I used to be now that I'm not eating so much meat. If anything, I have seen positive changes, and it's felt maybe easier to control my diet and start to lean out a little bit. I don't know. So that's kind of been my journey with it, and I think I'm going to continue this sort of, dipping my toes, stepping into vegetarianism. It kind of makes it easier to not have to worry about, am I eating balanced enough? Am I getting enough protein? And I just eat more intuitively. And I'm not eating meat today. Well, what else sounds good? I'll still have my vegetables. I'll still have some carbs. Okay, follow me here. Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt that hasn't been sweetened at all, 0% milk fat, is amazing. You can make it sweet or you can make it savory. And it has a ton of protein in it. It is so good for you. It has the good kind of fermented bacteria that your gut needs. And what I'll do is I'll take a piece of sourdough toast. You guys know I love my sourdough. I'll put maybe some raw garlic on it. I'll put butter. I'll sprinkle it with some Celtic sea salt and some Italian seasoning. And then I'll spread a nice hearty layer of Greek yogurt on top. And then sprinkle it with, what's it called? Oh my God, you guys, yeast. It's a type of yeast that vegans use to make things taste like cheese. What's it called? I forget. It's going to come back to me. But I sprinkle it with this stuff that makes it taste like cheese, and it adds that little bit of good savory. Nutritional yeast. That's what it's called. Nutritional yeast. The vegans use it to make stuff taste like cheese, and I'll sprinkle a little bit of that onto the top and kind of spread it around, and it tastes like cream cheese. It tastes like cream cheese. You can't tell that it's yogurt, and it's delicious. It's delicious, and you're getting your protein, and it's good for you, and it's healthy for you, and you're not eating meat. So I highly suggest trying to incorporate more Greek yogurt into your life. I'll make these dips with Greek yogurt. Just Greek yogurt, a little bit of olive oil, lemon juice, any sort of spices you want, some of that nutritional yeast, mix it all together. And I've been getting these vegetarian samosas from Trader Joe's, and I'll dip those into the little Greek yogurt dip and eat that as a meal. And that is also delicious. That's really good. It's really good, you guys. So I highly suggest maybe trying to eliminate the meat a couple days a week. See how you feel. See how it goes. Be a little creative. Find other ways to supplement your protein. Homemade hummus is another really good thing. You can make delicious hummus with a can of chickpeas, a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of lemon juice, and any kind of seasoning you want. Just go heavy on the seasoning. Heavy on the seasoning, salt, pepper, cumin, garlic, onion powder, and then anything else that you think would taste good. And that makes a really good, cheap, easy, clean, homemade hummus that also has some good protein in it. So, you guys, this is amazing advice, and I'm giving it away for free. So please, I encourage you, please try it. I was inspired by these Seventh-day Adventists to try this vegetarian thing again, get a little more creative, and I'm really enjoying it. So I hope that you will also find some success with that. Okay, let's stay on the topic of nutrition just a little bit more. So we talked about things that these Seventh-day Adventists of Loma Linda, California, we talked about the things that they do eat. Now let's talk about some things that they don't eat. So within the sort of doctrine of their religion, There are foods that are quote unquote unclean according to the dietary laws in Leviticus 11 in the Bible. Now, whether or not you do or do not follow the Bible or believe in the Christian religion doesn't matter, because these are still good ideas and good principles that they are upholding. No matter the reason, doesn't matter what the purpose behind it is, these are still good, positive things to abstain from. So what are those things? One thing they talked about is pork and shellfish. I do understand not eating pork. I don't really eat a ton of pork. I do love myself a good batch of crispy oven baked bacon every now and then. That was a kind of a staple growing up. We would have bacon days where my mom would cook these 2 big sheets and stack them all on a plate, and we'd have some eggs and some pancakes, and it was delicious. It was amazing. And I'll have bacon every now and then if we're going out to somewhere nice and I feel like it's going to be good high quality. But pork isn't necessarily good for you. They also talk about avoiding shellfish, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know what extent is or isn't considered shellfish. Maybe is shrimp shellfish? I don't know. I mean, I eat a lot of salmon. I don't eat a ton of shrimp, but I eat salmon, I eat fish. So, I mean, take that as you will. I hope that you have more information than I do about what is or is not shellfish. So I think I kind of avoid shellfish anyways, but they advise abstaining against pork and shellfish. And again, sort of meat in general. They eat way less meat than the average American. They also encourage avoidance and restriction of stimulants such as caffeine. Caffeine is a drug. You guys, it doesn't matter. Caffeine is a drug. You get addicted to it. I'm sure you see people, you know people who can't live without their coffee in the morning. There's those mugs that say, "Don't talk to me till I've had my coffee," because some people literally cannot function without a dose of caffeine in their blood first thing in the morning. And that is not necessarily healthy for you. I gotta be honest. It's a big culture around coffee. And look, coffee is good. I actually used to drink a cup of coffee every morning at work, and it would help me perk up, help me to be able to engage with what I was doing. I actually really like the taste of it. Give me black coffee with a little bit of milk. I think it's delicious. However, I know it's not good for me. It wasn't good for me then when I was taking it and drinking it every single day. And why was I drinking it every single day? Because I was not getting enough rest at home at night. I was in a stressful situation, living situation in my home life. There were a ton of other things going on that were affecting my ability to function as a normal person in the mornings. And I would take coffee as a supplement to be able to do my work and do my job. And that's not healthy, right? That's not healthy. We shouldn't need something in the mornings to function like a normal person. So there's definitely something here to these people saying, moderate your coffee intake. Don't drink as much or if any caffeine. And nowadays, I've switched my morning beverage to, and go with me here, warm water or hot water with a whole lemon squeezed into it and some Celtic sea salt dribbled in and mixed up together. It's delicious. It's delicious. You have to be careful. Don't get it on your teeth. You kind of got to sip it and throw it back right away. But the lemon will kind of clear out your system, kind of wake you up a little bit. It'll go through, especially on an empty stomach. It's really good to kind of help jumpstart digestion. And the salt is good for hydration, and it gives you lots of good minerals that you wouldn't necessarily get in other foods. And the salt has to be specific. It's specifically naturally harvested Celtic sea salt, or other maybe pink Himalayan sea salt is good too, not table salt. Not table salt, that's a chemical, but good natural salt that has been actually harvested from the earth. So that is how I start. That is the first thing I have before I eat in the mornings. When I get to work, I have that drink. And then after that, I'll have a cup of green tea, just plain green tea brewed in hot water. And the Adventists suggest also avoiding tea. I can't do that. I can't do that. I love tea. I love green tea. I love black tea. My boyfriend and I went to London a couple of years ago and we had good, authentic London tea. It's amazing. There's a big difference. I promise you, there is a big difference between regular old tea in America and actual tea that these English people have poured their heart and soul into making, because that is their specialty. So I do love tea. Tea does have less caffeine and it doesn't have that same sort of jittery stimulant that you get from coffee. So if coffee's your thing, if you love it, if you can't live without it in the mornings, I understand. I hear you. Maybe try my suggestion of lemon juice and salt in your hot water. And if that's not enough, then maybe have a cup of black tea with milk and honey or sugar or whatever else you put in it. Just try switching it out for something else. See how it goes. And if you can't do that, well, then just maybe try and mitigate it a little bit. Try and have less coffee. Mix it with something else. Half coffee, half decaf. I don't know. I'm just spitting out suggestions here. Do what you want. It's your life. You don't have to listen to me. I'm just one random woman on the internet. Okay, next thing that the Seventh-day Adventists abstain from, and this is also one of those that is very socially acceptable and kind of hard to speak out against. It shouldn't be. I'm sure you can guess. Alcohol. There you go. Alcohol and tobacco and any other drugs. So I think we all know that if taken too far, alcohol, tobacco, and drugs are bad for you. They are bad for you. They will kill you if you give them the chance. So I don't think I need to talk too much about why you should abstain from those things. I think we all know that to some degree. One drink here and there is fine. One cigar here and there is fine. One bit of drugs here and there is fine. And honestly, I'm not one to talk because I do enjoy a regular use of a certain green leafy plant. So I'm a little hypocritical here telling you guys to abstain from these things when I'm not. But I tell myself that I don't smoke nicotine or tobacco or cigarettes or anything, and I also really don't drink alcohol, only on specific occasions where we're celebrating something, things like that. So, whatever. It is what it is. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. So who am I to talk? Okay, I think we've pretty much well covered nutrition, the things you should eat, the things that you shouldn't eat. So we have one more topic to cover when it comes to the lifestyle of these Seventh-day Adventists and why they live so long. And here it is. I think that this is maybe the most important aspect of these people's lives. I think that this is something that most people do not get enough of, and they really, really need to prioritize. And that is rest. Rest. Real rest. What does that mean? So the Seventh-day Adventists observe every week the Sabbath. And for them, the Sabbath is on Saturday. It starts on sunset Friday and it goes until sunset Saturday. And what this means is that they don't do anything. They don't work. They don't partake in any sort of rigorous exercise. They give their body and their mind time to rest. And it's not just about doing nothing, because I know in this day and age, and I'm definitely guilty of this, it's really easy to sit there and do nothing, but your mind is still racing. You're still anxious, you're still thinking about something, you're still planning for the next day, the next week. I said this, I need to do this, blah, blah, blah. You need to rest your mind as well. There was a quote that came out of this section. It is, "Worry can do nothing for you, it just takes your strength." And I bet you can relate to that. If you're worried, if you're anxious about something, you do feel weak. You don't feel in control. You're letting your mind take over your body. You're letting your fears take over your mind. And that is only going to put you in a state of unrest and a state of fight or flight when you need to be in rest and relaxation. There's a quote that I have been repeating to myself ad nauseum. It is from originally the book, most recently the movie, Dune, and it comes from the Bene Gesserit teachings, and it is, fear is the mind killer. Fear is the mind killer. Now, this has resonated with me so much because I used to feel a lot of fear in my life about myself, about my future, about a situation that I was in or a future situation that I could be in. Again, lots of anxiety. And it's true. It killed my mind. It left me unable to actually process what was going on. I was not able to think logically. I was not able to control my emotions. It was just this fear, 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 fear. And since hearing that quote and kind of reminding myself of it, and now when there's times when I start to feel anxious, I just take a moment and I say, fear is the mind killer. I am in control. If I let this fear, this anxiety take over me, then I am not in control of my mind anymore. It is going to kill my ability to be a logical, sensible, reasonable human being. I won't be able to solve this problem that I am worried or afraid about. I need to set that aside, move past it, move through it, and remember who I am, what I have the good capacity for, what is actually in my control. And I realized that even just thinking about that kind of snaps me out of whatever spiral I might be falling down into. Just taking a moment to acknowledge that, oh, I'm afraid right now. Fear is the mind killer. I need to stop being afraid and take back control. And that has really helped me with some of my mental issues just in the past couple of months. So, okay, that kind of got a little bit off topic. We're talking about rest. We're not talking about fear. We're talking about rest. So here's a little anecdote. Maybe within the past couple of years, I've really gotten into yoga. I got my teacher certification. I love it so much. I tried for the first time yin yoga. Yin yoga is very different from the typical trendy vinyasa flow where you're doing all these cool poses and you're moving through it and you're sweating and stuff like that. Yin yoga, in about an hour, you do maybe 5 different poses and you sit and you hold those poses for 5 to 7 minutes and you just sit there and you do nothing else. And the first time I did it, it was really difficult for me. It was really difficult for me because I wasn't used to sitting and doing nothing. I wasn't used to turning off my body, turning off my brain, being present with myself for an extended amount of time. I almost got up and walked out. I was almost like, I can't do this. This doesn't feel productive. This doesn't feel helpful. This doesn't feel like I'm progressing in life in any way by sitting here bent over my legs, lying on a pillow, doing nothing. Like, what am I doing? How is this helping me? And thankfully I didn't. And it took me a little while to realize that, oh, it's not good that I couldn't do that. I need to be able to sit in the quiet, in the dark, in one pose, not move my body, not move my mind, but just be able to sit and be and exist and rest. And I wasn't able to do that at that point. And that was kind of an alert for me of, you need to get it together. You need to be able to do this. So I have since gone back to yin many times many times after, and I really enjoy it now. I really see it as an opportunity to just turn off my brain, turn off my body. There's nothing else to do but rest and relax and sit in these restorative positions that are good for me. This is good for me. Sitting and doing nothing and resting is good, is positive, is productive. And we live in such a go, hustle kind of world that tells you that if you're not progressing, if you're not working on yourself, if you're not doing this and that every single second of the day, you only have 24 hours in a day. Everyone has 24 hours. You got to make the most of it. that's not that's not helpful in the long run. That's not sustainable. You have to be able to rest. And so the Seventh-day Adventists are very good at resting. And I nowadays I take my Saturdays to rest as well. This even before listening and watching this episode, I would take my Saturdays. I would say this is my day to do nothing. I don't have to do anything if I don't want to. I usually go for some sort of exercise in the morning. I go for a hike or I go for a run. And then I just sit and rot for the rest of the day. I get some good, yummy food. I'll sit and watch any shows that I need to catch up on. I'll go to the pool and lie in the pool and tan. We usually go to church on Saturdays because that just works. The schedule is best for me and my boyfriend. So we'll go to, excuse me, I'm burping a lot. I'm so sorry. So we'll go to church. And then sometimes we'll go out to dinner. Sometimes we'll just go home and make something. And that's it. That's just an easy day. I'm resting or resetting after a long day at work, long week at work, excuse me. And then Sundays will be my day to do laundry, do groceries, kind of get my ish together for the coming week. And that is, again, that is helpful. I feel I really need that day, that time to sit and rest and relax. And you do too. Even if you don't think you do, even if you're not taking that time in your routine right now, you do need to rest. You do need to rest. So please do it for yourself. Do it for your health now. Do it for your longevity. Do it for your future health. Take time to rest. Rest is productive. Even if you're sitting and doing nothing, even if you're lying there like a bump on the log, listening to music, eating some food, whatever, that is good. That is productive. Your body needs that. Your body needs to be in rest and relaxation mode. That's when you are able to digest your food. That's when you are able to heal. That's when you're able to process the life that you're living. If you're always in go, 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 you're always anxious, you're always worried, you're always looking at the next thing, then you're in fight or flight. And in fight or flight, your body can't relax. You need to take the time, actively take the time to switch over and rest and relax and do nothing. Meditation is really good for that. Meditation, the point is that you're doing nothing. You're doing nothing and you're quieting your mind. So maybe try meditating. Take a whole day to meditate. I mean, maybe you can't take a whole day. That's really hard. I couldn't meditate for a whole day. But on this day off, do some meditation, do some rest, take a nap, eat some food that you really enjoy, that is really good for you, that is also healthy. Keyword there. And just exist. Just realize that there is nothing wrong with being yourself and existing in this world. You don't have to be doing something. You don't have to be productive. You don't have to be achieving anything in order to be a worthy person. You are a worthy person just by being yourself and here and existing. And you take that one day to remind yourself that and to practice that. And then the next day, go back to working and being productive and doing stuff. Because we do have to do that too. In order to be a worthy person, you do have to be productive and advancing and participating and contributing to society in a positive way and learning more and bettering yourself. Yes, that does make you worthy, of course, but also just resting and relaxing and allowing yourself to exist and to be, that is also worthy as well. It's a balance. It's a balance. Everything always comes back to balance. Too much of a good thing, too much of a bad thing is always going to be a negative result. You have some good, you have some bad, a little bit of bad in the good, a little bit of good in the bad. And then I don't know, you just end up kind of in the middle, appreciating life, taking the good times, taking the bad times all in stride, moving forward, achieving your goals, but giving yourself the time and grace that you need to rest along the way. Okay, guys, I think that's it. I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all the support on season 1. Everyone who's liked, everyone who's commented, everyone who's reached out and told me that they're really enjoying it or told me what they learned. I so appreciate all of this. I really hope you guys will kind of keep this in the back of your mind. Stay subscribed, stay following. Someday we're going to come back and we're going to do more of this. And I hope that you will be there for season 2. But for now, let's wrap up season 1. This is Special Agent Rae signing off. Ciao.